Well, welcome to this evening. We are going to be speaking about mind over money. And before we get into the meat of that with our lead this evening, Dani, I'm going to introduce some of the other MSCO members that we have with us tonight. First, we have Celeste Holly. Celeste lives in Prescott Valley, Arizona. She's been a member of MSCO for about 9 years and is offering Reiki and yoga. Celeste is also an artist who creates handmade jewelry and accessories. Now, I think there are many other wonderful things to say about Celeste, but I don't have those notes in front of me. So next time, perhaps we'll have more. She's a wonderfully gifted healer. I will say that. How about that? And then next we have Dana. Dana Cummins is the dreamer and founder of MSCO. Thank you, Dana. She loves bringing people together to co-create healing and joy for the world. Her passions include her intuitive work, metaphysics, writing, playing in nature, travel, and communing with the divine feminine. That is beautiful, Dana. Okay, and then Marie Howell is a wise elder. Her art and life are intimately intertwined with her deep connection to the sacred, particularly the Divine Mother in her many forms. Marie's work includes painting feminine icons, reimagining found objects into inspired assemblage sculptures, and facilitating creative inner wisdom experiences, particularly through cosmic smashbooking. Her website is holymother.art. And I believe is all for our members except for myself. And my name's Elizabeth Heyer Rose, in case you didn't know, and I'm a quantum healer and shaman. And I don't think I need to read off my own bio. So I kind of know what I do. I help I bridge the gap between the spiritual or the seen and the unseen to help facilitate healing on the personal, group, and global levels as a brief summary of what I do. And then finally, this evening, our lead, Dani Yanssens. Dani has been an educator for over 30 years, teaching K through 12 as well as adults. She is a trauma-informed educator and is certified in mental health first aid and bridges out of poverty. Dani is a transformational coach, addressing your mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being to lead you to live the life you desire. She also teaches a 6-week course titled Mind Over Money, where you will learn to create a budget and pay off debt without feeling stressed, overwhelmed, and deprived. And I have a sneaking suspicion we're going to be diving deeper into that in a couple of minutes. So before I turn it over to Dani, I just thought that we could all take a few grounding breaths, and we'll open up the space and put us in a bubble of light and protection, and then we'll give it to Dani to take it away. So just for a couple of moments, just sit quietly and allow your breath to slow and or deepen. And allow the breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Those often are cleansing breaths. So just a few deep cleansing breaths. And as you do that, we will invite in our unseen guides. We invite in the universal energies of love and support and positivity. And we surround this beautiful experience that we are embarking on. We envelop ourselves in light and love. All of this in our highest good with harm to none. And now I turn it over to Dani whenever she is ready.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. That was awesome. Thank you. So I'm just going to chat, and kind of tell you my story, my experience with money, and feel free to chime in if anybody wants to kind of make a comment or ask a question. So a little bit of a backstory. First of all, I've never been very good with money. Like I never was taught. I think a lot of us grew up either, we all have baggage when it comes to money based on what we were either taught or not taught. And so, I just kind of tried to figure it out as I went. My husband and I, first of all, I stayed home with my kids. My kids are adopted, and I stayed home with them for 10 years. It was a struggle financially. And, we figured it out. We made it through. We didn't go on any big vacations, and I wouldn't have traded that at all, but it was a struggle. I went back to work. Things were a little better. My husband and I decided to go in and on a business venture with a couple of our friends. Biggest mistake. And it was 5 years of like really hard emotional abuse by our narcissistic business partner, mental abuse. It was a very, very tough 5 years that took a real toll on us mentally and financially. So finally, about 5 years in, we got to break out of this. We've got to it's just tearing us apart. And we ended up having to sue them. And so anyway, that's a long story, but finally the lawsuit was over. Everything was done. We were no longer partners. We were no longer part, and it was of the whole business. And it was like this huge weight just was so lifted off our shoulders. And I felt so much gratitude to just not have that weight. And I think that was the first step of changing my whole mindset on money, because we were in debt. We were in quite a bit of debt after that. And we had to look at it and start dealing with it now that we were done with the whole business. But I was just feeling so much gratitude that we no longer had this very heavy weight hanging over us, this partnership that was just so draining. That was like the first thing that was started to shift my mindset. So I felt all this gratitude, and I'm like, all right, we need to look at our finances. We need to figure this out. We need to get this in order. And I really that's where my focus went. My focus was just budgeting, looking at what we even had. I think, and a lot of us, we want to just stick our head in the sand and not really know what's happening with our finances. That was me. It was too overwhelming. So I just said, I'm just going to focus on it, and it's okay because I don't have this big heavy weight over it. So I can do this. I did a really hard thing. I can do this. And so my mindset just started to shift in life in general, but regarding money, especially, I focused on our finances. I simply started just by listing all of our debts and not being afraid to do that because they're just numbers on paper. I finally had to tell myself, it's just numbers on paper. Just look at it. And even though it looked like a large number that was scary, I was like, it's all right. We can do this. It's just a number. We'll figure it out. We're going to be fine. And it was just my mindset slowly changed. And just listing my debts, our debts, what we paid on it every month, what the interest was, and having the original debt listed in one column. And as we paid it off, listed and I was a little obsessed. So I said I was going to do it once a week. I probably did it every other day, but I would just look at it all the time and see that number get lower and lower and lower compared to what we started with. And it didn't matter if 1 month it was only a little bit lower, $500 lower, it was lower, and I just focused on that positive feeling of it's lower, it's lower, it's lower. And it was amazing because that's where my focus was. Things just started to come into our life in a beautiful way. Like money would just kind of like, oh, we have, look, that, you got a really nice bonus this year. We weren't supposed to get a bonus and you got a bonus, So that's going to, and it just and we got creative and we sold things that we didn't need, not, we have a house full of things that we don't really need. And we just started kind of minimalizing a lot, getting rid of a lot of stuff, selling some artistic things that my husband does. He's a woodworker, and other things, just like we would get like an unbelievably amount of money from taxes, or we sold a car that wasn't worth $500 and they gave us $2,000, and it was just bizarre. Money just kept coming in, it just kept coming in, and we paid off over $50,000 in debt. We refinanced our house, and so we'll be able to pay our house off in a shorter amount of time. And throughout this whole time, people think, oh, I have to pay off my debt. We're not going to be able to go out. We're not going to take any vacations. We're not going to go out to eat. We're just going to focus on getting our finances in order. And I didn't notice this until looking back. We took the best vacations we've ever had during that time of paying off debt. We never didn't go out to eat when we wanted to. Like, it just all worked out. It all fell into place. We were able to pay cash for everything. And it was just all that mindset, and that looking at it in a grateful way, and knowing it all is going to be fine. And the money would just kind of flow to us. And I learned a lot about, that you hear a lot about paying off debt, and there's a lot of different techniques in doing it, like snowball and paying off the highest percentage first. I had to do it, for me, I had to do it with my heart. Like, we looked at our list of debt, and there was one that was, a friend had loaned us money for the business. He wasn't charging us any interest, but it was weighing on us emotionally. And we had to pay that off first, because we followed our heart, the credit cards, obviously, that was the first one that we paid off. But it was really just like, okay, then we can look at the ones that didn't have a lot of emotional attachment to it. We could say, okay, well, this one we can pay off quickly, or this one has a high interest, let's get rid of that. But I really didn't follow any kind of format that's out there. I just followed my heart, and I kind of dragged my husband with me, because he wasn't always there. But that's okay. Everybody in their own space and time, right? But it was life-changing to have that huge weight lift off our shoulders in the initial, and then everything just kind of flowed to us as I was focusing on my attention on our finances, but also my emotions were happy and thankful and grateful for everything we have, and so stress-free from not having the business hanging over our head. And it was really, if you can look at your money and see that they are just numbers, and it's just a resource, and if you believe, it will come. It will all happen as it should. It will all, if you can release all of that fear, there's so much fear and shame. You have to forgive yourself, because, we had a lot of debt, and you can be ashamed. We were ashamed of it. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Every debt we had, a lot of our debt started back from when we adopted our children. It was a lot of money. And we had to go to China twice to do that, in addition to the adoption fees. And that was sort of the beginning. And it was like, I wouldn't trade any of that at all. It's all okay. It's all okay. You just have to, and if you still have debt, we still have a little bit of debt. It's okay. It's not, it's not the end of the world. It will get paid off as as it should, and you will get more coming in, and it's just all sort of flows, and your mind is just, as long as you can keep, that mindset into a positive form, it all works out. And just trying to help people see that they don't have to feel shame or guilt or fear when it comes to money. They just have to release all that stuff and just focus on it and believe that it will all work out, and you can figure it out and be creative, and it will. And it did. And we did not lack for anything during that whole time. We were so, the time before, we were focusing on paying off all that debt. When we were when I was home, and when we were in the business, we were always worried. We were always worried. We can't spend that money. We can't spend this money. Oh, we don't have enough money for that. And no, we didn't. We were right. We told ourselves we didn't have it, and we didn't. That was absolutely true. As soon as we stopped doing that and said, oh, we're going to be fine. We have enough money to do this. We have enough money to, and we did. Amazing, right? So that's my story. And that's what I want to share with other people, because I know that there's a lot of people out there who just feel weighed down by finances. I see it all the time. I work for a company. We work with a lot of at-risk young adults, and they're kind of stuck in situations that seem hopeless to them, and just bringing that mindset, that positive mindset, that growth mindset, that you'll be able to break through from this, and things can be okay, and they will be okay, as long as you believe and you work towards it. You have to take steps towards that. But if you see that goal that you want and you believe that it's achievable, then it is. What is the saying? If you think you can, or whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Yeah. So I love that. And I love just trying to help these kids, I call them my kids, but see that there's just a world of possibilities out there, and there's so much hope and so much opportunity that they don't even realize what's out there. It's just limitless. I don't know if it was on the radio or the TV the other day. And it was just, I know there was one recently, but this was a while ago. It was a big payout for one of the lotteries, it was like $1 billion. And they said, oh, but they're going to take the buyout of 793 million, one-time payment or something. And I'm like, that's a lot of money that's just floating out there. There's a lot of money that's just floating out there. You just have to know that it's there. And I'm not saying about winning the lottery, but I'm saying there's a lot of resources out there. Look at all that money that is just floating out there for somebody to win in the lottery. It's limitless. It's just paper, and it's available. So that's my story. Anybody have any comments or questions?
Thank you so much for that sharing, the intimacy of and being vulnerable in that way. I think you touched on so many things that whether no matter how much or how little money you have, we all experience in some form or fashion when it comes to finances, which is shame about what we have or what we don't have. And so in the constricting form of what you talked about, but then also, that money, Lazarus, who many of us know, said once, money is the cherry on top of the sundae. And you hit on that in a variety of different ways by saying, oh, there's a $1 billion lottery and your payout is like, 700 million. That's just this, like, what is that? It's just, it truly is just another energy. And if we can, as you so beautifully did, you and your husband so beautifully did, which is take that charge off of it, where it's everything, and just let it be the energy that it is. And you were willing to face it. You faced your fear, and you faced the shame that you felt which is the, who cares if people have debt? I mean, who cares really? But we're so ingrained to have that weight and that battle of that. So when you can free yourself of that, you free up, as you so eloquently said and have lived successfully, you free up the opportunity to create what you need, yes, but also you meet your needs and your preferences, and that you're creating that map for generations that come after you, especially right now with so much confusion with Gen Zs, and the weight of the world, so to speak, to bring that light and that levity and that hope, and that it starts with a belief, and you can anchor to a belief, and then you change your life and create what you need and want.
We tell ourselves stories about, how come our neighbors are able to get new cars and go on vacations and we can't, we do the same types of jobs or whatever it may be. But when we tell these stories about everybody, oh my gosh, they must really do, they must be doing really well, or look at their house, we tell ourselves these stories about how much they must have so much more money than we do. How do I don't have any idea how much money they have. I have no idea how they bought that car, or if they, or what they're doing inside their house, or how they're paying, or how much debt they're in. I don't know. I don't want to know. It's none of my business. So don't tell yourself the story of what you think that you're, make yourself feel like you're not doing well enough. And it's not just comparing to the Joneses. It's just feeling like, how come everybody else seems to be able to live the life that we think we should live? And we can't when we're not, because we don't want to go further into debt. And then you just have to remember that you don't know anyone, you don't know anything about the next person and what their finances are, how they're managing it, or what, where it's coming from, or how much debt they have. You have no idea. It doesn't matter. Whatever works for them is great, but remembering that it's limitless for you. I really feel like it's limitless. The world is, I don't know, it's sometimes it's like, I don't know. I'm so grateful for everything I have, that it doesn't matter, or if I don't make another dollar in my life, I'll be fine.
Hey, Dani, I had a question.
Yeah.
You are just radiating your energy of freedom from worry and fear. And I came in late, and I was wondering what that turning point was for you. And you probably explained it already, but maybe just briefly.
Okay. Yeah.
There you go, because you said you used to have all the worry and fear, and then now you're totally radiating. I don't even feel there's any, like, I'm trying to do it, or I'm really working on it. You're just there. So it's really impressive. I like that.
We had a business relationship that we went into business with another couple of friends of ours. And it's like the guy, the male friend of ours, turned into this narcissistic abuser. Like, I don't know if the business set it off, or we just never, I'm sure there were signs. We know there were signs, as we were friends with them for years now, looking back. But when you're in that kind of close relationship, his ego just became insane. And a lot of mental abuse, a lot of gaslighting, and so questioning myself for years. Both my husband and I were just like, wait a minute, was that my fault? Did I do that? Just a lot of gaslighting over, and it was a 5-year period. So it was really a very dark period for us. And when we ended that relationship, that business relationship, it was like you could breathe. It was just, gosh, it just felt like such a weight. And I think that I just had so much gratitude that dark period was over, that it just it just seeped into every,
So you were emotionally and physically in a different space.
yeah,
So it
totally.
was pretty sudden then.
It was a long road.
Well,
to
once,
see
I know,
that,
but once you
yeah.
got out of it,
Yes,
right?
once
Okay.
once the actual, like, we had to sue them. So once that was finally over, and finalized in the papers, but so yeah, it was like, yeah, it was,
So your energy, you could actually feel the difference between what you were in and then the feeling, and it felt so much better for you to be out of it. That's
completely.
great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah, thank you. It was a couple years ago, so we're still feel good.
Good.
Yeah, it's been very good. But I think the money thing really stuck with me, and I just remember, we all have our core memories growing up, and I have a few things like my aunt told me that we had food stamps for a while. I didn't know that. My aunt told me that my parents were on food stamps for a while, and I didn't know that. And I remember a time when my neighbor wanted to take me to get ice cream, and my mom gave me a bag of pennies to pay for the ice cream.
Mhm.
And my neighbor was like, "Oh no, we'll buy her ice cream." And there's just a few like core memories. I remember, I have a few of those, and those stay with you, and they really affect the way you look at money, I think, your whole life. And hearing, your parents argue, or whatever your memories are, whatever your experience was regarding money growing up, it stays with you and it affects you, right? It affects your relationships. And if you can look at those core memories that you grew up with and recognize them for what they are, which was, I never thought we were poor. I never, growing up, I didn't know. I was loved, and I had food, so it was good. It just, I think, like, if you can recognize it and just sort of bring it out into the open and then let it go, you can just then move on and realize how much the world has to offer, and how much, you can expand and grow into a beautiful life, just no matter how much money you have. So much gratitude.
Dani, when you were talking about your growing up, I think your mom in some ways was a bit of a gift, because she was using food stamps and she gave you pennies to buy ice cream, but she didn't say it was a bad thing.
No,
She didn't say that you didn't have enough.
Mm-hmm.
She just creative in finding ways to,
Yeah.
to help, or be, to give for her family. And, I think sometimes that's just the beauty of looking at what we have and being grateful, and looking at it in different perspectives of enoughness rather than not enoughness. And that's pretty huge. Yeah.
Mhm. My dad was an entrepreneur his whole life too, which is probably why sometimes it seemed like we had a lot of money and sometimes we seemed like we had none. So, but I remember, and this was when I was adult, and he was in his business, and I don't know, he was about to lose a big client or something, and I was worried for him, and he just looked at me and he said, "Dani, it's just money. Don't worry about it. It's just money." Like, he felt that, like, he never worried. He would try things, and there were times in his life when he was a millionaire, and then there were times when he wasn't. And he didn't, I was like, whatever, I'm all good. It's just going through life and trying things, and not worrying about what was going to happen next, being fine with whatever he had at that time. He was happy with whatever he had at that time. So both my parents, I think I did learn a lot from them, but you still have those, those, and I do remember them arguing about money too, I'm sure. So and they never taught me, and school never teaches us, which needs to change. They don't teach you about money. And so it's an important lesson too, that we all should know that. And I'm trying to teach my girls too, just to look at it in a lighter way, pay attention to it, but don't stress over it. It's all going to be fine. Thanks for listening, everybody.
I love what you said.
I
So
appreciate
if you were going to summarize, if you could, I mean, maybe it's not summarizable, but like the top 3 or 4 things for people that are perhaps in a place of they're not there yet with it's where you are, where as Jody pointed out, how free you genuinely are, that it's not you're not trying to get there. So for folks that might be, trying to get there or can't see their way out of poverty, and I know that's probably a different playing field, but not necessarily, because it's the same energy. What would be like your key takeaways for people that were trying to navigate this and free themselves of the burden and the shame and all that stuff, to truly be free and to enjoy money?
And I understand that there's people who just can't get past the fact that they maybe don't have enough food for their kids. I mean, I'm not going to disregard, what that feels like, but I think number 1 is gratitude. I think we probably all know that. You have to find something you're grateful for every day. And there is so much in the world, regardless of your circumstance, you can find something to be grateful for. The sun shining, a smile from your little one, a hug from your neighbor, whatever. There's so much. And if you can bring that energy in of what you are grateful for, what there is so much in the world to be grateful for, that will expand and kind of grow into the other parts of your life. I think forgiving yourself for whatever situation you are in, knowing that you're not alone. There's so many other people in the same situation. So having gratitude, forgiving yourself, and I think your language and your thoughts make a difference. So like I said, if you think you can or you can't, you're right. So think that you can. Even if it seems impossible, believe that you can. Believe it. Feel it. And I made it fun and exciting. Like I literally got so excited every time we paid off a debt, or I saw the number get this much lower and I'd go, oh my God, you weren't believe it. I would just get so excited. Feel that energy, go with it, run with it. I mean, it's really just believing that it can happen. And you have to take the steps too. So I think that's an important point. You can't just sit back and say, I'm going to win that $7 million because I don't feel any stress right now. Because you have to take the steps. Like we got creative. Like I said, we refinanced our house. We actually have a little bit higher house payment, but we're going to be out of debt with our house much sooner. And that was huge for us as we get a little older. We sold, like I said, we sold things. We, whatever we had to do, we just putting our focus on our finances and knowing where it was and where it was going, that helped a ton. How many times do you just don't even know where your money went, right? So that helped. But I would think the 3 things is just try to find something to be grateful for, because there are so many things to be grateful for, no matter what your situation is. Forgive yourself for whatever situation you're in, because it's okay. It's not your fault. I mean, things happen to everybody. And then just make sure you're using the language and the thoughts and the feelings that are moving in the direction of abundance, because it's there. Those are good questions, Elizabeth. Good job.
Awesome, thank you. That was really great. Does anybody else have any other questions, comments, thoughts, ideas?
I just love the way that you talked about how it can so magically come in. And I couldn't agree with you more, because when we started the co-op in one little tiny office and we were paying $500 rent, if somebody had told that me, you know, you're going to spend over $300,000 in rent over the next 13 years, and you're going to grow, you're going to be paying $3,300 a month, and it's all going to be okay, I probably would have fainted or passed out or something like that. But it all magically came about. And, you know, if I hadn't left room for that, because, you know, there's naysayers in the world, you know, I wouldn't have allowed that. And so it, you know, when you spoke of how things magically came in like that, I just being open to allow that, you know, through the grace and the mindset is just so powerful. Thank you so much, Dani. That was awesome. And Elizabeth, you guys rock. Beautiful. Thank you.
Okay, well, as we close out our time, I'm going to take us on a little ritual visualization. And I heard it as the fire of creation. And I think it's probably because, you know, fire is a symbol of destruction and creation. And so I think that was a good anchor for the sort of the ritual we're going to go on, which is letting go of something. And it's, you know, I was thinking about this in the context of something having to do with constricting energy around your finances, or something that you know, Dani touched on it, that was like, oh, I want that, but I can't have it, or whatever. So something that we want to be done with, and then something that we want to create. And I think we can anchor it in the financial abundance category, and or success. So however, you know, y'all want to, whatever ends up happening for you. But I was thinking about it in terms of the context of money and finances. So just before we jump in, just take a minute to yourself, and just, you know, ponder around in your head if there is something you'd like to heal, be done with, release, you know, a pattern, something that you're ready to be done with. And also think about something perhaps you would like to create. And so just as we are moving into the ritual, to just allow that to be sort of spinning around. What do I want to let go of? What do I want to create? And even if you just have the question and let your higher self or your guides answer it for you, that's fine too. So now that we're settling in, not unlike what we did at the very beginning, as we opened up this wonderful chat, just take a few deep grounding breaths. And as you do that, as you begin to again still your mind and quiet your body and breathe deeply, imagine that your higher self, or one of your unseen guides, or both, are with you. And as you invite them in and sense either one or two or several with you, imagine that they are surrounding you in light. And that beautiful light begins to grow brighter and brighter until it becomes so bright that you cannot see anything. It's like this blinding, beautiful light. And then in the next moment, that light is gone, and you find yourself in a place in nature, some place that's sacred to you. just for a moment or two, just look around and take it in. And before you is a round of stones. There's a small fire burning. Just imagine it, allow it to come into focus. This fire draws you in. It's a good fire. It is your fire. And as you're standing in front of this good fire, your fire, think about what it is that you would like to be done with. Think about the thing, the emotion, etc., that you would like to release. And when you have that firmly in your mind, allow yourself to feel the constriction, feel the limitation, feel what it is doing to your life or in your life. And with the image in your mind and the feelings in your body, step in to the flames. And allow the fire to build and build and build. The fire begins to just move all around you and starts to move sort of between you, and allow this fire, welcome this fire to take all of the constriction, all of the negative energy, all of the negative emotions that are associated with the thing that you want to be done with. Allow the fire to grow until it is all consuming, consuming all of what no longer serves you, consuming all. And as quickly as that fire grew and grew and grew and consumed, it is now out. There's nothing except you, of course. You standing and feeling a sense of liberation. And you look in front of you, and there's yet another round with another small fire burning. This fire looks a bit different. It's more luminous. It's shimmering. And it's a color of one of your chakras. Perhaps it's a beautiful red or orange, or the bright yellow that you might see in a flame, or green or blue or indigo, or even violet. Or perhaps this fire, your fire, glistens with beautiful white. As you stare into this fire with its beautiful luminous color, what do you want to create in your life? And now with that which you desire, step into this good fire once more. Step into your luminous light. And now allow this light, this luminous, shimmering, beautiful colored light, allow it to move into you, filling you with the energies you need to help you manifest what you want. Be filled with the light of desire. Be filled with the light of expectation, and be filled with imagination. Be filled with the light of love. The love will carry you wherever you need to go. Your love, who you are, your light will carry you wherever you want and need to go. Let that love, let that light, let that power fill you. And so it is. And whenever you're ready, you light-filled, luminous goddesses, you can open your eyes. Knowing that you can create whatever you want.
Beautiful. Thank you, Elizabeth.
That was so beautiful, Elizabeth. You made my eyes bleed. Thank you.
Well, and I think with that, we will close our gathering filled with luminous light and fabulous, wonderful information, armed to tackle any potential financial hurdles that may come our way. Thank you again, Dani. That was really great.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for hanging in.
Thank you, Dani.
Thank
Thank
you.
you,
Some other
Elizabeth.
time.